Hello. Again, apologies for this noisy video because of my cheap laptop. And potentially the duration of it, and potentially the topic of it. And my hair looks like a goddamn wig. Okay. So, yeah. I had a bit of, I guess you could say, angry rant on how I felt like in the last video. Not heard, but not necessarily feeling like I can connect with people. Like there's no room for them maybe to communicate with me, aside maybe shut me down, or there's no room for me to communicate without sounding or being flat out offensive. And yet at the same time I find it very frustrating. I have to walk on eggshells. And one thing I want to talk about is, I guess you could say, spirituality. And I find that mixing, what was it? Spirituality with real life situations potentially very, very dangerous. And I find that rather frustrating, because just like if you mix the law of attraction and you're not, for instance, manifesting, and you're struggling financially, or you're not in a very good situation practically speaking, then I find it's just too dangerous basically, and it's too risky. If you cannot manifest, for instance, let's say you wanted to manifest money and you're struggling in general to manifest things, let alone money, because all you've known is poverty programming or like negative associations with trying to just go by intuition instead of just working like an idiot or just being a very logical, linear person. Let's say you have problems with manifesting, and on top of it you have problems with finances. You're going to, well, like things could manifest right at the last minute when you stop expecting them, or when you least expect it. And I find it's like the universe plays tricks on you, and you get what you want when it's almost too late. And I find that to be the case as well with the whole concept of twin flames. And this is where I get really frustrated, is I find like this stuff to be very dangerous as well. Dangerous as in you could become delusional and just get sucked up into all that drama and stuff. And it's maybe something that I have to deal with amongst my favourite spiritual topics, conspiracy theories and archons and things like that, all kinds of stuff. So I'm now almost totally blind. Another problem with, not really on topic, but being sensitive to your surroundings is, without sunglasses and with direct sunlight shining in my eyes, or if the floor or ground is wet, or the roads, and the sun is shining and then it bounces onto the ground, I'm even more totally blind, and then I cannot see. And I find this very frustrating. Well, at least my eyes aren't like soulless black eyes, and that they're actually brown, contrary to what most people think, which are really annoying, and people seem kind of weird and weirded out and shocked by the fact that I have brown eyes. Well, yeah, I have brown eyes, I'm sort of sat in the dark. But anyway, what I was trying to say about twin flames is, yeah, I find that's a rather messy topic, because it's just like, I think it's a very idealistic way of looking at things. It's not very romantic at all. I mean, it could be, but like, what if the whole concept of romance is actually a delusion in itself, which kind of probably is. It's also a concept that's been heavily marketed, capitalized upon, the concept of romance, and I get annoyed because, like, I like romance, I like cheesy things. The whole twin flame thing, it's almost like cruel as well, because I find it to be so extreme. Like twin flames don't seem to like so much soulmates. Seems like anybody who's into the whole concept of soulmates doesn't really know about twin flames, which is interesting, because which is worse? Which is more judgmental? I think people in the whole twin flame community are actually more judgmental, because they act like twin flames are superior and that they're the ultimate goal. But at the end of the day, you know, where's your twin flame when you're going through shit? You know, I understand you don't want to like sort of humour people for too long and stay in that low frequency situation, but as I said in a former video, you know, poverty sucks, and if you're financially poor, it's kind of hard to manifest things in the first place. And then this whole spirituality stuff, it's just, it feels almost like a distraction on top of it, and if you're not getting the results you want, which I find very frustrating, and I'm just turning into a strange ball of light going blind. So, I had multiple points I wanted to make about twin flames, and every time I get around to actually trying to verbalize it, it goes nowhere, or I forget. All I can say is, maybe, you know, part of me just thinks, you know, maybe Soulmates is where it's at, because there's that stability there where you're not so triggered to the point that it's like some emotional roller coaster bullshit, basically. And there's still passion. There's that sort of closeness you wouldn't get with most relationships, in my opinion. And it's certainly not to disregard people in, I guess you could say, standard non-soulmate, non-twin flame, or maybe karmic relationships. But here's the thing: if you're watching this, you're probably not dealing with a karmic situation anyway. I mean, you're probably on some bog standard gimp, you know, some like random guy or girl who's just, you know, because why would you be here in the first place? Like, you're kind of too far back on the evolutionary scale here. It's just like, you don't just run before you can walk, you know? So, putting disclaimers of, I've noticed twin flame people in the twin flame type community, they put disclaimers like things like no offense to people, you know, in just bog standard relationships. Yeah, but people in bog standard relationships aren't even watching that stuff anyway. I actually think it's a very narrow portion of people. And by the way, and here I have to add another disclaimer, they're not better than average people. Because what if not everyone has a twin flame? You know, what if it's the wrong lifetime? And it's annoying as well, because from what I've read, it seems like your twin flame stuff, you meet them in the last two, whatever the hell that means, incarnations of your life. So if you believe in reincarnation. And it's just like, I don't really care about reincarnation or life after death, because I didn't always believe in reincarnation, and to me, all of a sudden, or in the last few years, the possibility of reincarnation and other dimensions and other realities, you know, like you don't just cease to exist when you die, in my opinion. That's just a plus to me, really, reincarnation. If anything, it sounds quite nauseating and dizzying. It's like, when does it stop? When does it end? And I remember maybe this year or last year when I was going through some rough patch, but most of last year, is one thing I've realised is, like, part of me doesn't want to reincarnate again, at least not in this same kind of modality or body, and another part of me just feels like I feel tired, like really sick and tired. Like, I'm tired of earthbound bullshit, of social graces and playing along with, you know, the social bullshit games of hot and cold, or, you know, not really saying what's on your mind because it's so offensive, it would blow the universe apart apparently. Or, you know, you can't just go around saying offensive stuff all the time. You can't just go around saying how you really feel, because being yourself is a sin. Obviously I'm being sarcastic, but in case you haven't already noticed. But there is an element of truth when I say ridiculous things, even though I do say a lot of things in exaggeration. So that's what people don't seem to understand of my memes or ways of communicating with people. I don't think they can get to my I don't want to say it's humor, but just it's more exaggerations. And I don't enjoy the exaggerations, but to me it feels like life is a bunch of bad drug trips, I guess. Sometimes they're good, but man, it's uncomfortable. So again, when it comes to twin flames, I find that if you're even lucky to end up in such a situation like that, it doesn't seem that lucky. It actually seems quite hellish. It seems like utter hell. Like, why? And even stories of people who are in relationships with a soulmate. Yeah, they're in relationships with a soulmate, for instance, or, you know, a decent relationship. Is okay, it's not perfect. Let's say it's far better than your average situation or what could have been. And then all of a sudden, let's hypothetically say that you bump into a twin flame. Well, that just sounds like garbage. It's just like, what are you supposed to do with that then? Well, you're meant to ignore them? Are you meant to tell them to fuck off? Are you meant, or is it just a big giant farce? Like, it's just a great big fat joke, you know? And the other thing as well is, it seems like even if you meet your twin flame, a lot of people seem to, from what I've read, it does not sound always very idealistic. It seems like, you know, if they're mirroring you, but what do you do when they're insulting you? Or what do you do when they call you names? Like, I've figured that means you need to do the inner work. But that's one thing that also annoys me, is people in the twin flame community seem to talk about the inner work. But what inner work? What do they actually bloody mean? And it's like, what do you do if your twin flame dies? What do you do if you think you don't have one, or you think you like fucked up your chances of having one? Even if in the back of your mind you think, oh, well, everything's fine, there's still these underlying fears. Like, where's the reassurance? Where's the damn comfort? And then there's the fact where apparently sometimes your twin flame could be of the same gender as you. Apparently. So, but what do you do if you don't want a gay or, you know, just like twin flame situation? I don't know. Like, maybe a lot of things, all the problems that twin flames encountered would be resolved if they simply, I suppose, met up with each other. But then all this stuff about triggering each other, well, welcome to the generation of millennials and Reddit. Because even without the concept of twin flames, I don't like how everyone has to walk on goddamn tiptoes. I mean, oh yeah, eggshells, right? And all the time. And now there are things you can't talk about because it triggers them. And let's say your job in a twin flame relationship is to trigger them or they trigger you, well then what? It's just like, that sounds like some form of masochism. What do you like, poke each other with like electric, what do you call them? Tasers? Yeah, no, you don't do that, that's horrible. And why would you inflict more pain? I suppose the pain is meant to elicit some kind of growth, but then the whole need for growth probably means you do need separation then. But I don't like that term either. And what are you supposed to do if you're broke as shit, you know, like you have no money and you can't just keep going back and forth, you know? So, and one thing I also don't like is, it's already bad enough if you interact with people that aren't your twin flame, or they could be your twin flame. Either way, when it comes to anybody, especially people of my generation, blocking each other. It's like, delete, 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 oh, I don't like you, delete, you hurt my feelings, delete. Well, maybe I should start doing that. Again, I said in the former video, or I implied, you know, maybe I could turn towards the dark side. If I turn towards the dark side, I'm not coming back, you know? And if you do something very ridiculous, it's unlikely I'd plot revenge against you, but it's just like, I do sometimes feel like I have a rather nasty streak in that sometimes it just could be so easy basically to get people into huge trouble. And I think, no, that's just too evil. Why would I do that? That's just wrong. Because what do I get out of screwing over someone's life? Nothing. But anyway, back to the specific twin flame topic. Is, yeah, blocking. I find it extremely childish and stupid, but at the same time, I guess from the perspective of somebody that's sensitive to energy, or maybe an empath, I guess it makes sense, but then don't use fucking social media then, because it's entirely built on fakeness. I find it so ironic that empaths, or friends, empathetic friends, or twin flames, soulmates, whatever, they block people who are on the same frequency as them, or soul group as them. Like, I can't deal with this, I'm gonna block you. But then they stay on social media and interact with all the other people who aren't a frequency to them. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe these people have a great time with their, you know, friends or family or whatever, but I find that just the nature of social media is a load of shit. If anything, social media could potentially be perpetuating the delusion of twin flames, because how would you be a twin flame without all this technology? How does it work then? We don't have networking anymore because the economy went bust years ago. We don't really have that because not in our culture anymore. Like, no one does real networking unless you're American and using it to bullshit, you know. That's about it. I find the whole, again, twin flame concept is a very slippery slope, and it just sounds like a bunch of empathetic or empath type people, beings who are very sensitive to energy, who then come across these feelings and then they attribute it to, I suppose, a certain person that's more important than others just because of how it makes them feel in their tummy or whatever. I don't say tummy because, like, the lower down feelings below the heart area is quite limbic, and that's apparently a feeling you get in, say, karmic relationships or teenage love type situations where it's just that instant feeling, and the minute something goes wrong you get a horrible sinking gut feeling. But even if something goes right, but there's never that feeling of stability, so you feel that horrible drop in your gut, and it's like down here, it's like, I guess, in the solar plexus region as opposed to the heart area. And here's the most frustrating thing, that what about poor soulmates? What about people in the soul family? What about good friends? I find it's rather selfish to sort of run off on this twin flame delusion and just sort of like drop the people that are worth it. I mean on the right frequency. I don't mean like, you know, bog standard people, you know, the acquaintances, and by acquaintances I mean, you know, they feel like acquaintances, you don't feel that aliveness with them, but I think you should hold on precisely to, within reason, not too, you know, don't get too clingy, but the concept, the idea of soulmates, and soul family people, because it's just like, if you've gone through a lot of shit, and you've been financially destitute or whatever, or you're born not financially well off, or with a lack of opportunities, one thing I find is soulmates, if you're open to the universe, and despite all the horrible shit you've gone through, let's say you've had the shit beaten out of you, you've been sexually abused, you know, you travelled the world when you're a kid or whatever, or, you know, let's say you end up in absurd situations. I find, despite all the crappy stuff, every now and then there's always like one or two people, even if it's fleeting, it could be sexual, it doesn't have to be. I mean, this whole sexual plus friendship based thing on top of it is a plus, in my opinion. It's very rare actually to have that, it seems, unless you're open to the possibility you can be best friends with your partner. So yeah. Oh, it's so crazy because I'm not one that believes in, I don't like the word believes, but I'm not the one that ever felt or could believe in the possibility of twin flames or energy and all that. I mean, I've always been into it, but I never felt it. I never really got into it. It's always been a brief moment, like a kind of fling, like, you know, like an affair with sort of spirituality. I've never felt this consistent energy, and unfortunately this year I have done, and I can't really attribute it to anything, because to attribute it to a person, whether or not they could be a potential twin flame, is technically delusional. I think it's delusional. I actually think I'm insane. It would be easier to assign the concept of a twin flame to a freaking a goddamn plant or some stupid figurine or something. I'm trying to look for something like, this could be my twin flame, you know? I could be my own twin flame. I'm sure it exists, but, and maybe I've experienced it, I don't know, but it's just like, it's so ethereal. It's just like, I have these huge gaps between what could be happening in reality and what I feel, which doesn't feel real, because I've learned to live not feeling based on my emotions. I've learned to become a very logical, practical person, become very independent, don't trust people, never rely on people emotionally, don't over-invest, because I noticed one thing, by opening my heart, or being too, just like, being more open, has put me in a very vulnerable state with other people who are emotionally open. Because, you know, maybe they know about boundaries, these empaths, these friends I have, but I don't, and for a long time I've been very closed off, and then I all of a sudden started opening up, and by opening up I started ranting, whining, whinging, complaining, being negative, and I don't want to attribute this to, I don't want to give this credit to some potential twin flame. I don't know, it just seems wrong, because then it feels like it invalidates all the other people. Now I feel emotional. All the other people that came beforehand that were good to me, and got me out of the shit, that were there for me, where twin flame wouldn't be. A freaking twin flame, they'll run off like, ooh, icky feelings, I don't like this, you know, oh, gross, like, oh, I must set 10,000 boundaries and build a giant fortress made out of Minecraft blocks or whatever, Lego blocks, or, like, and live in a freaking tower in the sky, you know, emotionally, mentally, and maybe even empaths do that. So excuse me in advance, I'm not trying to bash empaths or twin flames, but I am at the same time, so you're welcome to insult me in the comments, you know. If you have to, here's the thing as well, if you have to dislike, why don't you just comment instead of disliking? Or is that too much effort on your part? Because I presume that people that dislike have sat there, like this, watching my video, only to dislike. It's like, what are you, a Roman emperor? Like, I mean, I've been the kind of person that, even before social media coming along, I used to be that kind of person that would just randomly thumbs up at people. Because why not? You know, it's easier sometimes to convey things non-verbally. And no, I'm not trying to be a brat or a child or sarcastic. I actually mean it. You know, if I thumbs up, that means good for you. It's just, it feels more genuine rather than opening my gob, trying to spew some bullshit. You know, it's just too much bother. You know, flattery. I could do that till the cows come home, but it's not real. You know, it's best. Sometimes the best compliment, I think, is to pay things in actions, doing things, you know, a little less conversation, a little bit more action, basically. So yeah, I would like it very much. If you're so offended by this video, please state your reasons why, or give me, I don't know, some feedback on what I could do to make these videos better. If you say my videos are too long, well, I'm working on that. If you say I'm too ranty and rambly and jump from point to point, well, I'm also working on that. It's a work in progress. Again, I'm just giving disclaimers because I already know what I have to work on. There's other things. But if there's things that I'm not aware of, then I'd like to know that. I realised another thing as well is, like, if you hang out with bullies, why would anyone hang out with bullies, you know? But when you're a kid and you're around bullies, one thing I didn't know how to deal with is, I thought by being nice to the bullies or neutral to the bullies would show them that I'm not scared of them, and that I'm not to say bending over backwards for them, but I'm asking them questions so I can improve myself. So in a way, I was trying to get some gratification in my own selfish way by asking bullies dumb questions, which is ridiculous, because basically asking questions you think would lessen people's aggressiveness, but instead they take it as like a sign of vulnerability, or a sign you're nuts, you have no boundaries, you're being too playful, they don't like that, and it seems to translate as like, so you want to be kicked and punched some more? Yeah, not very smart. The twin flame concept is also very horrible if you've gone through a lot, I think, emotionally, physically, financially. I find, again, like in the earlier video, when it comes to spirituality, it's far easier when you have parents that give you money to help you out when you're not ready to be an adult yet, or you just simply have a home or bedroom, or you know, they help pay for your education. If not that, they give you something, or some kind of feedback, or something, some direction. If you don't have that, you know, or you had a very unstable early childhood and it results in what they call anxious avoidant attachment, it's going to create a lot of problems basically with the whole twin flame thing. And I think for some individuals, I think a soulmate situation would be more stable than, say, a twin flame situation, because a twin flame is basically like your mirror, or twin. They'd be your worst enemy, because as people used to say to someone like me, is that I'm my own worst enemy, and that is true. I always thought, if I ever met, or if I ever actually had a twin, even like, you know, a blood related, you know, like I have an actual twin, I actually always wanted a twin. Like, I always felt like there was something empty and missing in my life as a kid. I was kind of jealous that my siblings were close in age range to each other, so they're sort of like nice little pairs, you know, with a very narrow age gap between each other. So 2 pairs of siblings, not twins, just siblings, but with such a small age gap. It's not about them necessarily being able to relate to each other better, because I think I'm very adaptable. I think I can relate to people far younger than me, and I think I can relate to people far older than me. But one thing, I always suppose that, like, for, yeah, essentially longing, I always wanted somebody that could just get me, understand me, And I always had this obsession with twins anyway. It had nothing to do really with twin flames. And the whole concept of twin flames comes by, and you're like, let's say you're in a relationship with what you believe to be a soulmate. That's like a cruel joke. So it's just like, and it seems like some people even say that your soulmate can turn into twin flame or something, or they can, you can work through your crap if you both want to work on it, and maybe then something will evolve or bloom out of it that could be likened to a twin flame situation, or identically, it seems. That's what some people say, but I don't see how. Yet with it just seems like maybe a Trojan horse. The whole twin flame thing. Like, I don't want to say it feels like a trap, because I think that's the whole point of it. It's meant to be set up so it feels like a trap. But then how do you differentiate the whole twin flame thing with other stuff that feels very powerful and emotionally triggering? Because that's called a relationship with a narcissist and an empath. That's also called a relationship with just, in a sense, toxic people, especially if you have something called trauma bonding. And it's not fair, because basically you get to do all the cool, romantic, fun stuff, it seems like, with the soulmates, and then, with twin flames it just seems like all this back and forth chaos. I'm not saying it's always like that, but I feel like there's no payoff. Maybe there is a payoff, and that requires having to take a leap of faith. It's kind of hard to take a leap of faith when your priorities feel like they're outside the whole twin flame thing, in that he needs to get other things done, like making sure you're not starving to death, making sure you maintain healthy relationships with people, self-improvement stuff. And it's especially triggering, like, what do you do when, hypothetical, potential, whatever, twin flame has told you all kinds of mean things, even if it's the truth. It's not like I can afford freaking, like, surgery to fix my freaking face. It's not like I can just manifest a big wad of cash and then all of a sudden, like, fix my situation, and it's not like my parents are going to turn around and just be like, oh hey, everything's fine now, you can come stay with us, because your life situation is very difficult, and we don't, we apologize for having said you should become an escort, or sorry for having abused you. One thing I've noticed is, I don't think my parents have ever apologized in my entire life, and my parents have never said they love me in their entire life either. And even worse is also when you're in a relationship with people and it's conditional, and they say they love you, for instance, right after sex, or they say they love you because you cooked them a nice meal or something. I mean, sure, it's cute and all that sometimes, but it gets really tiring when, like, I'm tired of, maybe it's a woman problem as well, like, I'm tired, in relationships, why do I have to say I love you all the time? Why do I always have to be the one to give in? Like, is it because I'm a woman? Like, what? Why does I always have to be the first one to cave in, emotionally? What, just so the guy in a relationship, even a good relationship, twin flame, soulmate, whatever, can get that weird satisfaction like some freaking hyena, I don't know, just start laughing like some gremlin or something, because, you're a week and you opened up to them something. And that's the other thing as well. There seems to be a limit to how much you can open up to keeping somebody you're on good terms with. Oh, it's starting to sound like my other video. Oh, twin flame thing sounds like a very heart-wrenching, painful thing, when the fact is there's still all kinds of stuff that needs to be dealt with. All kinds of stuff. And yet, what does it mean if you cannot meet them in this lifetime? Does that mean you've got another bazillion reincarnations, or you've got to reincarnate again? Oh well, better luck next time. KO. You know, game over. Just like, that just sucks. And again, if there is, you know, if, let's say I'm in one but I haven't met them and I'm not entirely sure if it is them, like, here's another cruel thing. What if you meet somebody you think is your twin flame and it turns out they're not your twin flame and they're actually your karmic? But then, like, that's not just suck, because, like, all that was for nothing. I suppose it meant they were a catalyst. I hate all these silly terms, but whatever feels right, I will use the vocabulary, I suppose, in said contexts. I really don't know. And what do you do, as well, is if you have a twin flame and you think they're an absolute idiot? And that just makes it sound rather karmic. Maybe it is, I don't know. It's like a cruel joke. I'm trying to go forwards, not backwards. I think I've been doing pretty well with my life. And if I'm in a soulmate relationship, a very long-term, near to a decade-long relationship, I think I'm doing quite well. I don't want to use time as an indicator, but I think I'm doing quite well in terms of evolution, of having learned to observe my emotions and be more calm and less, I was going to say less emotional, but I mean more emotionally unstable. But the sad thing is it's like, what do you do if you're in a soulmate? I doubt it would be a twin flame relationship, and they're just not open to spirituality at all, and they think everything is just a waste of time. It just feels like, I feel like at one point a few years ago I felt that something, there's always a level up impression every few months, every few weeks, every few years, micro level ups, like a video game. I used to get the impression that with my partner there'd always be a new revelation, another revelation. I don't just mean of the world and being curious about the world, I mean how also it applies to us, how we can live our lives differently, how we can find solutions practically and otherwise, how we feel about each other. I've also felt little leaps, some newfound growth, and unfortunately, I don't know if it's just a curse of long-term relationships, or I don't know, it just feels like it's a bit stagnant. It's very comfortable, but it feels very stagnant. Like, it feels like that's it. But I feel like, in this case, it's my partner who has read enough on the internet, decided, right, I'm done with the internet, right, I'm done with spirituality, right, I'm done with learning something new. They only, you know, in this context, I feel like my partner's only learning, now, just like really, you know, kind of like just, it's hard to explain, just, they're learning in a very linear way, not in an expansive way, you know. Maybe it's depression, you know. I don't know if my partner might have it, or I might have it, or just general jadedness about life. Another thing as well is if you're in a relationship and you meet twin flame, or you pick up on the twin flame energy. I think that's more accurate. You pick up on a twin flame energy, because I have not met a twin flame. You know, I've not actually had that experience like everyone talks about. Although maybe I have done, but for all I know, I'm just hallucinating it. It could be just simply an unblocking of all this crap I've experienced. You could easily experience this with, I suppose, some energy healer, a really decent one, I suppose, or a really good friend on a sort of soul group level. That definitely helps. And I refuse to believe in the concept of false twin flames, because, or near twin flames, that just seems wrong. Maybe they do exist, but the term, it just seems wrong. It would make more sense as less popular idea is that it's just more like a practice person. But then that's also awful, I think, because it's just like also a soulmate, somebody, you know, like you think you've made improvements with, you think you're far down the line in terms of spiritual evolution, whatever the heck that means. What, like this relationship's all a joke? Maybe I'm just being a complete and utter nihilist. I can't really comment on the twin flame stuff because at the end of the day, I haven't gone out into this world and experienced the whole feeling of people. Kind of like you don't know what a country is like, or you don't know what food is going to taste like. If you've never tasted it before, or you've never been to that country before, you can read all the books in the world. It's, you know, if you've not been to said country, or if you've not tasted certain food, you have no idea. Like, maybe you do have an idea, and that idea is very real, but it's not the same idea or the most accurate idea of what the actual situation would be like. AKA the country you haven't visited yet, or the food you've never tasted in your life. You don't know until you've tried it, essentially. And another thing is, I'm trying to figure out the whole concept of soul missions. It all seems rather very vague, like the whole concept of inner work, which is also very vague. Soul missions, well, I heard about that before the twin flame thing, and I thought, well, yeah, I feel like I'm on a mission, missions, whatever that means, but if they are, I think I've blown them out of context, and maybe I expected them to be bigger or more, I don't know, something that's more obvious, but maybe they're not like that at all. Maybe it's just really tiny, unspoken things. Maybe that's a mission. But then that could be really vague. Like, what if your mission, for instance, is something as absurd as having a kid or something in a set year? Well, that's awful because, like, I don't know, just, I suppose it'll have to feel right, but how do you not know it's just a biological delusion? Or it's just, you know, biological clock, or you're just, I don't know, just going through the motions, and it's not really a, let's say, spiritual thing. But then, for I know, the whole spiritual mission, the whole concept of having a spiritual mission is probably like, again, you could just be assigning meaning to any odd random thing, trying to get it to, yeah, work or make sense. Maybe it does work, maybe it doesn't, but it just feels like it's all hit or miss. I don't like that. And it seems a bit confusing how it ties into the whole concept of twin flames, because it seems like you don't always have the same mission as them. Could be complementary, could be different, I guess. Some people are even saying you can't complete your missions or do them without your twin flame, and other people say you can only do them with your twin. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Just like one or the other, basically. I don't know if I'm making sense here. This stuff is heavy stuff, and it's... I feel like I'm getting tired. Not really on the topic of twin flames, but I'm thinking maybe it would be good to go on sort of, I don't say pilgrimage, what's the word for it? To basically willingly become a mute, just as an experiment. I did that as a kid, I did that as a teenager. Unfortunately, it seemed like when I was younger, it was all a reactionary response, and even if it wasn't, I would be mocked in my family, and they'd just say, "Oh, well, that's just nice. No more chatterbox. Oh, how lovely." It's like they're trying to wind me up to get me to talk anyway. And I felt like not talking was pointless, and talking was pointless. It's very frustrating, but I feel like the more I try to talk to people I want to open up to on an emotional level, I want to connect to, the more distant I feel. It's all nonsensical. And just like, one thing I've noticed is, like, I had an ex-boyfriend. I mean, I had a boyfriend, like, now he's an ex-boyfriend, and he had a friend, or his friend had a friend, I don't know, I guess they were friends, who was a mute. And I've realised one thing is, like, when I talked to him and his friends at this festival I went to, the mute guy, well, I tried my best to basically address everyone whilst giving him eye contact too, and trying to be sort of equal, you know, like distribute what I'm saying to everyone. We didn't actually talk much. Life used to be a lot simpler actually when I think about it. But then I feel like smoking or being a hippie or just the whole sex, drugs and rock and roll stuff, I'm not gonna say sex, I just mean being at a festival, like, maybe it doesn't need talking. You can sit there in silence precisely and pulling on the grass and just being silly. Or smoking and eating, or just making a very short comment on something that's you observed, but keeping it very short. Well, anyway, this guy, he was a mute. I think, I wonder if one of my younger sisters as well is, I don't know if she still is, selectively mute. She only talks around certain people. And I've realised, like, one thing is, like, how did it really affect her? It never really created problems for her. And this mute guy as well, I realised he had friends despite being a mute. Like, he just never talked. And maybe he did talk, but he'd only talk to my then boyfriend or the other friend of my boyfriend, whatever. Maybe when I wasn't around, maybe it was me. Like, maybe you were selectively mute, unless it was 100% mute, I don't know. Like, willfully just mute, you know. But I don't know, it seems to be like, I don't know if it's a form of oppression, but obviously I feel like something that triggered these people to become mutes, or they've realised, or maybe they're just really smart. Maybe it's like Jay and Silent Bob, just like, yeah, just like Jay compliments Silent Bob perfectly fine, like, by swearing his head off when he won't shut the fuck up ever. He was swearing, it's kind of embarrassing because I was compared to him, except I didn't swear. In fact, I was too scared to swear, but I can imagine being like him basically, which is not good. If I was some like guy who was just like, totally annoying. But at the same time, like, part of me, you know, I always thought it'd be more ideal to be Silent Bob. Like, he's got shit together, he knows what he's doing, everybody likes him. But it's kind of sad, because does that mean people only like him because he's silent? I hope not, you know. Anyway, he's just a character, but it's just an example. I've always wondered, like, how do like mutes or selectively mute people get by? But I have realised another thing is they might be very well codependent to one or two close friends who basically has to order for them and talk for them. And technically, I'm sure we could order food or do something without talking, but then that means sign language. But not everyone knows sign language, so if you're actually physically incapable of speaking, you know, most people don't know sign language. I guess that means, again, you're also codependent or dependent because you need someone to order for you, or you simply write, I suppose, have some set phrases on cards, I guess, and you present them to the person. And I'm like, part of me really wants to do that. Like, every time I had a sore throat, or when I had mono, at least when it got so bad, at these glands in my throat, I couldn't talk, it hurt to move my mouth, everything. I had my makeshift whiteboard. I don't want to go back to that either again, but maybe going mute will help me emotionally to pour out this verbal diarrhea somewhere where it's more relevant in writing or journaling. I'm making this video as well because I have no journal. For a long time I've not been able to afford a proper journal. I've actually filled up 2 journals. But upon saying that, I just realised I did buy another journal or 2, but I don't know where I put them because I tidied them away too well. Then I went on holiday. Yeah, I should have really started writing again. I forgot that, actually. I forgot I had journals. Finally. But I'm gonna run out of paper probably within less than a month. Because every time I write everything that's on my mind, oh my god, it's like a freaking stinking book. And it's depressing and it's miserable and like I write until my fingers hurt and I get cramps in them and it's horrible. And I'm whining again, which is why I was thinking I might become a mute, or selectively mute. But then, like, I need to find other ways to sort of communicate as well. Like, I can't just write in my journal and say nothing entirely, so I need to find a way to communicate without communicating, which is going to be hard. Who knows, maybe it might enhance some telepathic psychic abilities, but that also could be one of my delusions. So yeah, the twin flame thing is very, very, very frustrating. I don't understand why it would occur in people who are older in life in general, because, I mean, if you're in your 20s and you get to meet your twin flame, does that mean you're lucky or unlucky? Does that mean you're gonna, like, you meet up with them or bump into them more in your 20s and you bump into them again when you're old and barren and dumb? I guess. I mean, it is meant to be, the whole concept behind it, I suppose, is meant to be a spiritual one, not a 3-dimensional one, where you're invested in, for instance, starting a family with them, or doing mundane things with them. It just doesn't work. I guess that's what it is. Like, it doesn't work. Maybe that's why people meet their twin flames a lot later. So, what does that mean if you could hypothetically have met them early in life? I doubt you'd meet them in your childhood. You're more like, it would make more sense. They have soulmates, people probably soul family strategically placed. They might even be like your twin flame as a child. If if you need it, basically, you won't realize until looking back, though. But the whole meeting a twin flame in your youth seems like bollocks. So yeah. So I do wonder though about the people who do meet their twin flame in their 20s, because that's utterly baffling. Unless of course there's an age gap, that might make sense. If you're young and watching this video, or in your 20s, or in your teen years, and you're into the whole concept of twin flames, my nose is not itchy. I advise you to actually stay the hell away from this stuff. Like, seriously, like, if you're a late bloomer, or you feel like you haven't got stuff out of the way, it might be just a very bad idea, actually, to wish to have a twin flame thing if you don't have one. And I'm in a weird paradox here, because just like, I'm so annoyed about it, I feel a bit burnt out about it, and I think, well, it's probably a good thing I've never met a twin flame then, but then it makes me feel kind of sad, because like, maybe I did experience something, like, was it Super Blue Blood, New Moon, whatever crap I remember, like in the beginning of 2018, I could just easily blame it on some super blue blood, whatever you call it, moon, like super rare moon crap, whatever they, with longer and longer labels. I could easily blame it on that. Or, yeah, just timing. And maybe I'm going into denial right now. I feel like I'm constantly living a paradox with parallel potential lives, and none of them seem satisfying. They all seem quite risky, unsure. The only sureness I have is staying in the situation I'm in. Oh, and then there's the fact that it's just like, what if the whole twin flame thing as well encourages cheating, or emotional cheating, and you're not normally like that. Maybe it's some like shadow self thing. Or maybe it's not cheating. I think a lot of people might use it as an excuse for cheating. And I think other people who aren't cheating might think they're cheating as well. So, got that to contend with as well. Oh, it's some really confusing stuff. I mean, you have twin flames, and then you have twin lanes. That's how I feel about it. Twin lanes. Oh. And if it's meant to be a mirror of yourself, the person or the energy, whatever, in that case, that just sounds like a migraine with a brain aneurysm. I've always said I'd probably kill myself if I had to deal with myself as a joke, or I'd probably just wind up hating myself. So, how the hell can I deal with something as complex and confusing and ever shifting in terms of energy as the concept of twin flames? Having an emotional breakdown every 2 minutes is also not very good, even if it's like purging and it does help. When you're in the midst of like trying to sort your life out in terms of jobs or health and all that. And one thing I do like with the whole concept of soul family, soul group stuff, or soulmates, as in just even a friend, that's nice. That's really nice, especially if there's a certain amount of distance. But if you get too emotionally invested, then it can. I guess it's because like soulmates or soul group, friends, family, whatever, they do care. So there is a certain element very similar to the twin flame thing. So you can get into a bit of a, not fight, but you know what I mean. I feel like, again, the soulmate thing, it's more like, it seems like you can identify intellectually as well with the soulmate, as well as hypothetically emotionally with the soulmate. And like I said, I'm using this to apply to friend as well. I don't mean like my partner or anything. But with twin flames, it's kind of hard because just like it's like you're just walking around like a headless chicken. Because if it really is based off the heart centers, again, some people say it's based off the shared entire chakra system, blah blah blah. But okay, maybe that's the case. In that case, you cannot. If you struggle to see yourself or view yourself from outside of yourself, you know, without needing input from somebody, then how the hell can you recognize your twin flame?